one. Let's go.
Welcome to the podcast that brings you raw, uncut, and unfiltered perspectives about life.
We need to have a conversation, all right?
We got to do better as a people.
Covering relationships, culture, music, and everything in between.
So that our stories in our communities can be heard.
This is Unlatched.
I got a little something for you.
And now your host, DeAndra Cargill.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to Unlatched. I am your host, DeAndra Cargill. Let's get started. So today on the show, I have a special guest. I have Nee here with me. Thanks for joining me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I don't know whether I'm special, but this is my second time on the show, so I guess maybe that makes me special. Maybe last time I kind of messed up, so maybe this time I could clean my act together.
Special.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So I want to have a discussion between Africans and African Americans, and I just want to talk about the disconnect between us. But if you give me a moment to let him get back on.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but there's a slight delay, so
Okay. Awesome. So we're going to be talking about the disconnect between African and African Americans. And I want to start out with a clip.
There have been several iterations: colored, Negro, Black, Afro-American. We have to define ourselves as a group. We have to hyphenize ourselves. The African-American one is just horrible. We're inconsistent with it. For example, if somebody comes from Morocco or from Libya, we don't call them an African-American. We're only talking about people from sub-Saharan Africa. Okay, fine. Charlize Theron is South African. No, because she's white, but she's from Africa. Yeah, but her ancestors are not from there. 3, 4, 5 generations of them are. No, African American, that's a term that we use for individuals of African descent who survived slavery. Okay, then Obama was not our first African American president because his father was a Kenyan and they were not a product of slavery. It just breaks down. It just doesn't work. I don't want to be hyphenated. I don't want to be hyphenated. I don't need to be hyphenated.
So were you able to hear that?
yes, I was able to hear that.
Okay. So
I'm just
and I forgot to ask you to introduce, since we had a slight delay. Wanted you to introduce yourselves. Hey, Mina, to the audience, for the people that don't know, if you can give them some info on who you are.
Yeah. Hey everyone. I believe this is my second time on appearing on the show, and I love the show. My name is Nee, and yeah, I think this conversation is gonna be awesome.
Yeah, awesome. So can you tell the listeners where you're from and how do you identify yourself?
Okay, so I always start with a joke when people ask me where I'm from. I always tell them I'm from Minnesota, and then they just kind of look at me in a weird way. You know what I'm saying? But I'm actually from West Africa, Ghana, along the coast of Africa. That's where I grew up in, and then migrated into the United States. And I identify myself as an American.
And why is that?
I mean, just like how that clip that you showed, and just for I'm going to be a little bit biased because, like I said, Bodie Beckham, the guy that was speaking, I really enjoy his teaching and his preaching. I've learned a lot from him, and based upon what he said, also, that labeling, all that, I have to add that to tell people, that, hey, this American, it's just something that, why can't we all just be Americans, why can't we just take that label and be Americans, because never saw that when I was growing up. For somebody who migrates to any of the African countries to say, hey, American Nigerian, or American Ghanaian, So yeah.
Okay. So I am from America. I was born and raised in America. I'm from Florida to be more specific. And I identify as a African American or a Black American. I say African American because I do not want to in any way disconnect from my roots, even though you can look at me and it's obvious. But I identify with African American or Black American. So what is your take on African Americans identifying as African American? Well, Black Americans identifying with African Americans. I think there's a delay.
Um, hold on. I'm not using Wi-Fi. I'm on a hard line, so I don't know what is going on. Let me check my network. Yeah, hold on.
We know, big exclusive.
Um, yeah, my Metro network.
Okay, so we're having difficulties right now, but he will be back in momentarily. So, um, I think that this is an important conversation that needs to be had. I feel like we are disconnected in so many ways when it comes to them coming to America, when it comes to us even trying to find out more about Africa. Can you hear me now, Nee?
Yeah, I was trying to fix my Metro network, man. My when I
It's all jokes.
when I migrated from Ghana, my network didn't follow with me. You know, this network don't want to get jiggy with us tonight. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know what's going on. The reason why I don't identify as that, it's not because I don't love this country, man. Like I tell you,
So can,
I'm
can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
So my question, yes, my question to you is, why do you think Black Americans that were born and raised in America shouldn't identify with African American?
I mean, what part of Africa are you from? That's always the question that I ask. You know what I'm saying? What part of Africa are you from? Because Africa has over 51 countries. You know, which part of that are you
Before.
from? You know what I'm saying. So, if you can identify yourself with a culture, you can identify yourself with a people. You don't have a home in that place. How can you identify yourself as why can't you just identify yourself as an American that is black or an American that is white? So that makes you just an American. Why do we got to put on labels? Because I think it's only in the United States that people wear those labels. When you go to UK, I've never met a British man or a British woman who would tell me, "Hey, I'm black British." They always say I'm British, right? Then when you go to Ireland, nobody will say, "Hey, I'm African Irish." They just say I'm this. So that's why I'm saying why they always got to put a label, and then you got so much. I think right now when you go into when you are applying for a job or applying for anything, and you click that race drop. Right now it's so plenty. Like it's like, why can't you just not select American or non-American? You know what I'm saying. So I just think putting the label when somebody should ask what part of Africa you from, you know, and probably your DNA ancestry will tell you, oh, you're from this and that. But can you associate with those people over there? What do you have in common with those people over there? You know, if I should decide to migrate back home, right? I know where I'm going. Is what I'm saying. Based upon my name, my children know where they're going if they should go back to Ghana, and when they get over there, they know what tribe that they're from. So that's what I'm saying. That it's just I don't label myself as Black American or African American. I just call myself American. And if there's no spot for just American on it, I just pick whatever I feel like picking.
Right. So do you understand that like with African, well, Black Americans, I'm gonna say, that I guess it's kind of like maybe a form of identity for us to put us in a place to, as far as African American.
I mean, having the identity as an American in itself is because there's no one that again, like I was saying, there's no one in either Ghana, Nigeria, Morocco, Libya, Zimbabwe, or even South Africa that are whites over there, right? They don't label themselves I'm British, South African. So I don't think it's an identity um, 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 issue, right? It's more of a race kind of want to divide. Hey, this is where I belong, so I'm going to stick with this, and this is where I belong, so I'm going to stick with it. It's based upon my color, gender, right? So I just want to, like you said, a place to belong to, but you already belong to a place, which is America.
Or do you feel like we are like even though we were born here and
Yeah,
our ancestors came here from Africa
yeah.
and we've been here for generations and generations, like you don't feel as if we still feel, and I'm not going to speak for all Americans, that we don't feel like we are we belong here? I mean,
I mean, if you've been here more than 20 generations, right? You belong to America. Like you're American. Wherever you saw that your parents landed in or wherever they had you over, you belong to that place, right? Generation upon generation upon generation. Say we go, let's say we go to a gravesite and you're gonna see your ancestry line in that gravesite that has been buried over there, right? Up to now. Does that make you part of this land? They broke their back for generations and generations to help build this country. That doesn't give you that gives you identity to belong to this place. And that's what I'm saying. But what roots would you have back in Africa? It could be that none of your ancestries even, have the name itself has been wiped away, you know. So and
right.
and
But
again
even
and
when it
again,
comes down to here,
yeah.
with my ancestors, they helped build America. Like America was built off of slaves, but they don't get the credit for it.
Yeah, so let me answer this question. How can I call myself an American if I migrated from Africa? Okay, that's a good question. I choose to call myself, and again, I should have said this from the get go before we started. Right, I'm speaking for me. I'm going to speaking for me. Maybe some other Africans also have a different point of view. But I'm going to call myself an American because the day that I naturalized in this country, the day that I put my African passport down, right? That was the day that I became an American. And I swore oath to the United States president that I would defend this constitution, foreign and domestic, right? I've been to war more than 3 times for this country, not for Ghana. Right. If there's a war happening in Ghana and we got to go there and go defend the United States, I'm gonna still swear my allegiance to the United States. So that's what makes me feel like I'm American and I deserve to call myself an American. if that
Right.
answers that question that the gentleman asked.
Yeah, you definitely can call yourself an American, but do you feel like in a way that that's kind of like disconnecting you from Africa in a way?
Say that again.
Do you think that that's in a way disconnecting you from Africa in a way?
No, it doesn't disconnect me from Africa. It doesn't disconnect me from Africa. I still speak the language. I still got cousins in that. My father, my mother, they just decided one day not to stay in the United States no more, right? And went back. My stepmom, my mom passed away a long time ago. So my stepmom, she's from Boston. Right now, she's in a village somewhere with my father. So I don't think that that disconnects me based upon what I identify myself as. It's just I choose to, and that's the same way I also tell my children. They're mixed, so I tell them that, well, you're American. You may look darker than most white people are, or you may look different because even um, I got six children, and they all got different shades and different colors, but they all my children, and it's like, well, we Americans, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Absolutely. So you feel like us Americans should, Black Americans should just consider ourselves American because we were born in America.
Yes, I would say that, I would say that. I think we just gotta be just you know call yourself Americans, and if you want to call yourself Black American, well, that's okay too. If you want to call yourself African American, that's okay. But what part of Africa are you truly from? You know what I'm saying?
Right. So how do people in Africa feel about us calling ourselves African American?
Honestly,
And all of us
I c-
don't identify as African American. Some of us identify as Black. We have other names
yeah,
as well, as
yeah,
you've seen in the video.
yeah, yeah.
But
I think I think it's different though. Let me see. Say so. Wait, you gonna ride with? Um,
your country because you're now considered an American.
I don't get that question.
If you can kind of elaborate on that a little more.
Um,
But African people that are from Africa, and I know there are 54 different countries in Africa. And when do you guys get offended when we ask when we say that you're from Africa?
no, I just I don't get offended when people ask me, "You from Africa?" I take this opportunity to educate people, right? Because I think a lot
Mhm.
of people do believe like Africa is a big old country, because somebody said, man, hey man, I'm going to Madeline, I'm going to Africa. It's like, where are you going? Like, I'm going to Africa. Like, my brother, what part of Africa are you going to? Because I mean, like I said, you got the desert part, you got the coastal side. You Africa in itself is huge. Even
Right. It's a
even
continent.
even when yeah, even when you look at the map of Africa, right? So you got Africa over here, and then you got Madagascar also down over here, which is part of Africa, which is on an island, right? Which is part of Africa. And growing
Mhm.
up, would always say you can never have the map of Africa without having Madagascar because it makes it incomplete because
Right.
it is also part of that continent, So I mean, the only um, yeah, so it gives me the opportunity to educate people to tell them, hey, that's why I always tell people I'm from West Africa, Ghana. You know, it ain't like there's so many Ghanas around because sometimes I realize when I say Ghana, some people think I'm saying Guyana, so they always think it's no, but I have to. So then that became something that I would always tell people. I'm from West Africa, Ghana, which it's along the coastline where we have we're surrounded by French speaking countries, and we're the only English speaking country. Just to get to educate people. So it gives me the opportunity to educate people who don't know. So I don't get offended at all.
Right. Right. So I want to show another clip.
All right, guys, uncomfortable question number 21. What do Africans really think of African Americans? You know, I travel abroad often, and I have some really, really interesting conversations with people who don't live in the United States. And one of the common things that I've noticed is that they feel that people of all color, right? Because no one has ever directly said that black people in America squander opportunities. They just said that there's an abundance of opportunity in the United States and a lot of its citizens don't take advantage of it. But with having these conversations, sometimes I almost think that they want to say that black people in the United States don't take advantage of certain situations, but I've never had anyone directly come out and say that. But you kind of feel that in a sense when you travel outside of the United States. So how do Africans really feel about African Americans?
How do Africans?
So that's
really
my
feel?
question to you.
That's
Yes.
your question to me. Well,
Yes.
he said, did these uncomfortable questions? Well, I think, again, I think that America is always a land of opportunity. That's why most Africans always migrate to the United States, or other races also come over here to seek greener pastures, right? To seek that education, to seek that money also. And I think in some ways, sometimes it's true also, you know, because you could be in a place with certain people who were born in the United States, and you wonder, like, hey, bro, like, you know, like you had an advantage over me, you know. And I'm not talking. Let's say this guy was born in the same year like I was born, right? We both born in the same year, you know. We both the same age, you know. I did majority of my schooling in Africa before moving to the States, you know.
How old were you when you moved to the States?
I was in my 20s, you know.
Okay.
I was in my 20s. So I've been in the United States for about 25 years now, you know. About 25 years now. And so let's also say this person also has advantage over me, because I mean, they went to high school, they had the opportunity to go to college and everything. They didn't want to do it, right? But then I come in, you know, with my hustler mentality, wanting to get me education, wanted to get me a job, wanted to get me all this, wanted to do all these things, right? So I'm gonna look at you that were born in this country, born in this land, and I'm like, bro, what are you doing? You know? So that's what maybe some Africans do look at and say, man, you know, you got all this opportunity that in this great nation, but you're not taking advantage of it, you know. So
Right. So do you guys think that with coming over here, do you guys think that you guys should educate yourself more on African Americans and the struggles that we went through from slavery? Then we hit Jim Crow. We had so many different things that hit our community. We had so many Black successful communities. We had Black Wall Street. We had Akoi. We had Rosewood. And there are so many more that were
oh yeah,
burnt down. These were successful Black communities.
hmm
Um, we had the crack era. We had so many different things that destroyed the Black community, that, you know, and these are things that I feel like, you know, Africans should consider when they come over here and they look at the condition that a lot of our communities are in today.
Well, before I answer that, the question that Tiffany posted over there, right? I'm sorry if you've ever had any conversation with any African and they've told you African Americans are lazy and uneducated, you know, because it is the same thing also back in Africa. There's a whole bunch of lazy people over there that don't want to do nothing for themselves. You know, I got cousins that are matured, grown adults that still don't want to do nothing for themselves, and they expect you to send them money back home. Also, you know, so I think laziness and uneducated people are all across. But to go back to your question, you know, it's like, yeah, you know, I'm not downplaying what happened on Black Wall Street, right? I mean, African Americans having a great business opportunity. That was one of the best era and everything growing up, and they just because of somebody lied, and now they got a chaos going on in that part, right? And then the Jim Crow era, where black and white people cannot be in the same place, can go to the same water fountain. I'm not downplaying all those things, right? But I think there comes a time that we of the let them say we African Americans got to move away from, and I'm just referring to black people in general. We got to move away from that. Also, yes, those times happen, but how can we also rise to the occasion? And that's what a lot of Africans are just saying. Also, rising to the occasion. And yeah.
Right. So back home, what is being portrayed about African Americans?
I
What are
mean,
things that you see?
there's a whole lot of things that is portrayed about African Americans. It's not only even in Africa, even when I was in South Korea. Again, they saw me as an American, right? So Black American, and seen as being aggressive, and that's what rap music portrays African Americans to be, either doing drugs or slinging dope, or riding around in big cars, and every word that comes out of their mouth is curse words, and that. So you see that, and that makes you kind of judge the people in itself, till you get to know them, right? Till you get to know them, and you see that, okay, it's not. Because there are white people that do the same thing too. There are black people also that do the same thing too. There are black people that are rednecks also. Till you get to know, and you get to live in that country and wipe away that stereotype in a way. And if you've never been there, and all you see is what you see on TV, the media really takes certain things and hides away the truth. You know what I'm saying? So like
Absolutely.
the media will show you poverty in Africa. Will never show you some of the nice places in Africa. Pick a country, they will never show you over there. Just like the same way also that somebody coming from Africa gets surprised. Somebody in Africa gets surprised when they come to. I was surprised when I was in San Francisco, walking around, and you see all this homeless, and the streets so dirty, Or you go to Portland and people are just high on the street. It's like people are like zombies, They wouldn't show those kind of things, They only show the lavish life, and then when it comes to Africa, they show the starving people that you would see, other people in the rural areas, or when South Park had like starving Marvin, there are fat people in Africa too, in Africa, certain part of Africa, the farther you are, the more money that you have, you know what I'm saying? But you don't see those kind of things. They only show the bad portion, So that's the same way media portrays what the media want to portray, and what the media feeds
Right.
to people. That's what the people are gonna think people are, you know.
Right. Can we put up that last comment that Tiffany wrote? Black people have contributed so much to this country, yet we have the least rights. And I feel that is the truth, because at the same time though, we fought and we fought and we fought, and we made it possible for people from other countries like Africa and Haiti and different places to come over to even have the rights that you guys have. And I feel like we don't get credit for that. And then even when stuff happens, when we try to stand together because something has happened to one of our fellow African Americans, I feel like, the Africans don't fight this fight with us. And I feel like we should be together.
I think the Africans do fight this fight with 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 African Americans for your right, for people's right, but you just don't see it that much. You know, I don't have to belong to a party based upon the color of my skin. I gotta vote with my head. You know what I'm saying. So Africans do fight. Um, just because I'm not over here yelling Black Lives Matters and stuff like that. Where does it really matter? That's where I'm going to put my effort in. What do I do in terms of educating people in my community? You see what I'm saying? So Africans do fight, but it's just maybe you don't see us being vocal. You don't see us being um, um, doing what everyone else is doing. But I do believe there's a lot of Africans that are fighting. You'd be surprised how many Africans are lawyers that are fighting for this country. And it's crazy um, that a country like Nigeria produces a lot of doctors. Fact check this. You know, all countries like Nigeria produces a lot of lawyers and stuff like that are defending people's right in America, that are saving a lot of black people also. So I mean, I don't know what to say, but one thing I know to say is that Africans are fighting. I don't
Oh,
have to be on the street.
OG
To
says that he is yet to see semi protesting, and I'm gonna be honest. Like I feel like when Africans come to America, I feel like they do separate themselves from Black people, and I think it's a lot to do with what's portrayed on TV and
hmm
everything else. Over there, just like with us. Me growing up with watching on TV things about Africa, it was feed the children. They
hmm
showed nothing but poor places in Africa. And like me growing up doing more research on Africa, you have beautiful places in Africa, nice communities in Africa, educated people in Africa. But to us and the things that were portrayed to us about the people, about Africans, were they were dirty, AIDS, all of that stuff. And I just feel like it painted a bad picture, put a bad taste in our mouths about each other, and that had a big thing to do with causing division between us.
hmm I mean that's
Um,
true.
mhm.
I agree on that aspect, and not. I think there was a comment that was put up over the last comment. Can you bring the last comment up, please? No, the one before, the one that um, I think OG had commented. Yeah, he says,
I don't see y'all at all, bro.
okay. um, there was one I was talking about something ugly. No. It was something saying something ugly. Yeah, it says, and they be ugly thinking they are better. No, Africans don't think we are better than people from this country, man. Maybe some people, there's something about the African culture ourselves that sometimes we come out aggressive. The way we talk. You could tell a Nigerian from a Ghanaian. You could tell somebody from South Africa than somebody from Morocco or from Libya, right? By the way that we talk, right? So sometimes some African accents, because we have to be like I had to be mindful when I talk to my wife saying certain things, because I want to emphasize on what I'm saying, and sometimes it comes out as aggressive, and sometimes that's the way that it is, and when you have a language barrier where you would have to translate certain things in your mind real quick before you speak it, because I could say, like, I could say, Charlie, I could come, like, I could come tomorrow, right? It's easy for me to speak a pidgin English, for me to speak a bad English, but for me to speak good English, I would at first have to translate what I'm trying to say to come out not being aggressive, you know. So it's just sometimes it's just the way culture, the African culture, and trying to bring it over here. And when we talk, sometimes it feels like aggressive, or it feels like somebody's looking down on you. But to another African, it's just like, no, no, they're not. You
Right.
know.
And then, oh, gee, you talking about ugly as shit. No, that's not true. Because Black Americans, we have that strong African features. We have
Oh yeah,
strong
yeah,
African
yeah.
features.
I mean, there's several
We,
times that I've seen. I've seen some Africans and over here, and I approach them, and it's like, bro, I grew up in America. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know if I got any descent. So it's like, you try speaking a language with them, and they're like, I don't understand. Um, yeah,
yeah, I mean, we have it. It shows. It shows. We have strong African. They're damn sure ain't European features. Black is dominant, and it
hmm
shows up
hmm
everywhere we go. It shows up. Our features are strong. It's going to stay with us, and that's just the way it is. And I believe that Africans, we're beautiful. African Americans, Black, whatever you identify with, like, we're beautiful people. And I feel like we've been told so much that we're ugly. um that may be a problem too when it comes to us coming together, because I see even seen a documentary with Akon, and he was saying that a lot of Black Americans picked on him. They called him ugly. They said all these things about him, so that kind of like made him move away from them. It was the African Americans were the ones that were, picking on him. And it may be a lack of self-esteem of us on our part as African Americans, because we were picked on. We were called ugly, you know? So I mean,
you,
I don't know.
you,
I can't speak for all African American, but
you
I just feel
know,
like she says, we were brainwashed by Western beauty standards.
you
And I
know,
think that now we're coming to a point where we're beginning to love who we are. So we are trying to connect with our roots, and that's Africa. But I feel like, because we didn't ask to come over here. Our ancestors were enslaved. We didn't ask to come over here, and like we're trying
mhm.
to connect. And I just feel like not I feel like sometimes Africans are not as open to us, being that we are trying to find out more about our roots and who we are and where we came from.
Just like you said, right? People making fun of you. When Michael Blackson did that, is it Friday? One of the Fridays, and everybody is like, man, I can't get jiggy with this, and what is this now? That's the way we talk, But then it feels like every every time somebody meets an African, that's what they want to throw at them at also. All they watch a little bit of Starvin Marvin on South Park, and they want to go, is that a language you guys speak? Like I'm like, bro, like get serious, So now when you have somebody that constantly makes fun of you, constantly makes fun of you, right? Bullying you, that's a form of bullying also, right? Because I mean, I'm not here to be bullied. I'm not here to be looked down upon, right? Would I still stay over there, right? Would I still have friendship with that person? You and I have been talking for a while, right? You and I do believe we got a good friendship, right? I don't, I
Yes.
don't, I don't look down upon you. I don't look down upon anybody, because um, no one has crossed the line to say, man, you think you're better than me? Because no, I'm not. I'm not better than you. We all learn from each other,
Right. And I've
right?
never felt that
Yeah,
about you.
you know,
You
you
never
know,
gave me a reason to feel
you
like that
know,
ever.
So we all learn from each other, Please leave this question up here real quick, So it's 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 the vibe that certain people will give you, that will make you push away from them, and just like the same way when you go when you go places and you meet somebody that you are of the same race, you're attracted to them by nature, and want to get to know them. I'm walking down the street and I see another black man, right? The first thing I do is give that man a head nod. Meanwhile, there's a white man also walking right by me. It's just because that's how we identify ourselves, and It's not like
That's
Africans,
true.
but if you make fun of me so much, why would I want to be around you? You know, yeah.
Yeah, I think that as a race that has been so suppressed, going through slavery and even the way that things are structured now, you know, even the Western standard of beauty, like Black women being called ugly, and knowing that our roots come from Africa. So, I mean, us being told that, I think that has a lot of influence on, and that we were children at the time. I've never went to school with an African. I've never been in the same community with an African. Like I said, when you guys come over here, I feel like you separate, yourselves.
Um, it, it's
Um,
it's cause that's where they put um that is where they put themselves in. So like when you go to Minnesota, there's a whole big Somalian community over there because that is where when Somalians when during General Farah ID raid. For those who don't know, watch Black Hawk Down. You understand what I'm saying? They moved all Somalians to um, Minnesota. So you go downtown Minnesota. There's a block. I mean, there are businesses, there are shops, and it just like you in Somalia, right? You go to Detroit, Michigan, and you go certain places, and it's just like you in Iraq, you know. So it's just it's not like we separate ourselves. It's like when people migrate and they're able to establish businesses and somebody from that country comes over there, right? The first thing they go is go to where they can identify themselves as, where the support is at, right? Because like from the get-go, what I said was people migrate from a country for greener pastures. So now that we've migrated to the United States and there's greener pastures, we used to the same food that we eat. We still get that same food over there. If I want African food to eat, right, and I want it cooked good, you know how many miles I got to travel, how many hours I got to travel? I got to go to Houston, Texas, to where one of my cousins is at for me to get that, right. Because there's nothing over here. So if I should leave Missouri now and I choose to go stay in Texas, right, I'm going to stay in a place where probably there's a whole lot of Ghanaians over, where I can feel more at home also, but still be in the United States and not segregate myself from the people that I know, because if I want a job and there's a Ghanaian establishment over there, why wouldn't they hire me? You see what I'm saying? So that's the same way Indians do that, right? Chinese do that. Koreans do that, So it's just, I mean, they got a whole Chinatown, right? So it's just when people migrate, they get used to certain things, and one person starts a business, they bring another person, and then it just keeps going on, and then they share the wealth that they have. So it's not like we are separating ourselves intentionally. It's because that is what people get used to, especially when you come to the United States. For those who don't even have um, green cards, those who don't even know how to speak English well, right? Where are they going to get a job at? I know some people say, man, you better learn English before you come, but hey, some people want to travel and they do travel because they got the money right now. They come, now they got to work. Ain't no establishment is going to hire them when they can't speak English or they don't have the right understanding for certain things till they mature in the system. So, and then some of them police each other also, and that's why you have those community and you have people like me that may have broken out, right? And then I'm in the army, but then I meet a whole bunch of Africans, right? I met a whole bunch of people from Africa, and it's not like I separate myself away from them, but sometimes I build a community with them also in the United States. I mean, it's like, hey, you got to put your head down. Hey, you going where what? Like, I mean, there are people who are not from Ghana that are from like Ivory Coast, Nigeria, right? That I have to pull them in and say, hey, you got to get your head out of your hiney, right? Because you are not representing yourself right. You are not representing who you are. Don't give somebody a reason to think this is who all Africans are, right? Oh, I mean, my doctor, my heart doctor,
But
he's a,
don't you think that? But don't you think that that should be the same way that you guys should do for any black person?
I mean, that's the same way we do that for any black person too. We do that for any black person too, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I I'm a I'm a deacon in a church that is run by an African American, right? I'm under his leadership, right? Um, I mean, I support him. I give him all my best, undivided attention and advice. He's more than a brother to me than my own brother. You know,
Right.
so I mean, it depends on situational cases and how those people see themselves. Again, that's why I said I'm speaking for myself. I'm not speaking for all Africans because some Africans may be totally different and say no, we're just gonna do our own thing, and some are gonna say, hey, we're gonna support. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So there was a lot of backlash about Black Panther movie. What do you guys think about like when black people try to
Black Black
black Americans try to embrace their African side?
no Black
Like, do you guys
Panther.
find it disrespectful because we don't know everything and we're we're trying to put the pieces together, or how do you guys feel about that?
Oh well, Black Panther was interesting, right? Because I mean, Black Panther, they were speaking different languages in that scene. When his dad died and the Panthers came out, right? So he addressed like a Ghanaian, but wasn't speaking the Ghanaian dialect. Like the father had a cloth over him like that. That is how we dress in Ghana, right? So when anybody sees that, like, oh yeah, this person is from Ghana, and it's like, well, he's not speaking of the 100 dialects that we have, and it was just a made up dialect. And then he had dressed like a Nigerian also, and then the women had dressed like people from Kenya and all those things, right? So it was a mixture of culture, not representing one culture. And I think there's no country called Wakanda anywhere, you know what I'm saying? So it was just like a mixture. I thought it was interesting, I'll be honest, because
I thought it was
um,
beautiful
I,
because I mean, at least we're trying to figure it out. At least we're
I
trying to
mean,
embrace, our African side, our roots, trying to find out our roots, And thought it was beautiful. I thought it was a
I
beautiful
mean, I
movie.
mean,
But I saw that a lot of Africans felt like the movie was disrespectful.
I've never, man, I loved it. I loved the movie. It was, I mean, a lot of movies portray America the wrong way too. You know what I'm saying? So, it's just entertainment. I mean, like the Ijobers were representing Nigeria. The way the guy was talking, like when he said, "Are you done? Are you done?" That's how Nigerians talk. Nigerians pronounce every single syllable, every single letter in. Like they were like, "Hey, this is a correction." They pronounce everything. That's how this is a Nigerian that you speaking to. So I mean, I thought it was funny, man. Me and my siblings, we were just cracking up because I mean, it was just funny.
Yeah, but to us, that movie was like a whole lot more. It was a lot deeper to a lot of Americans, Black
uh,
Americans. It
yeah,
was a lot deeper than
yeah,
that. And I feel like even as an African American, I can't speak, Black American, I can't speak for everybody, but I feel like, we're not wanted here because the white people took over. We're not wanted here. We're not
yeah.
respected here. We don't have, we're looked at as animals here. And then when we look at Africa, it's like they don't want us there either. So like we feel like unwanted. I'm not saying all African Americans, but I'm just speaking, I'll speak for myself. It's like, well, who wants that? You know?
S- So, so this lady
And
did
then when we
ask.
do pick up the cultures, different things from Africa,
Hmm.
that we try to. engage in and try to find out more
Yeah.
about our roots and stuff, it's like we're being criticized because we're not doing it the right way, or we're not, but for us to even try, I feel like it should put a smile on y'all faces because we're trying to figure it out.
I mean, so she asked a question, right? And I'm gonna answer you also. Would my family give me a hard time if I'm married to an African American or to other race? So, me and my kid brother, right? My kid brother is married to someone who's Asian, right? And I'm married to a white woman. So no, my father don't really care. My father is happy. He got 10 grandchildren, so he don't really bother him. But trying to figure out who we are. We in just go back.
Mind you, one more second. It's enough of people that migrated from Africa to show us when we're doing it wrong. It's enough of you guys to educate us. You guys want to find out more about your culture, your roots, like show us,
Well,
like we
well,
don't mean to be disrespectful.
well, we are. We are, DeAndre. When you go to Ghana, right? Like right now, you go to Ghana and look at the diaspora, the migration. When there's a lot of African Americans that have moved back home to Ghana, right? There's a lot. Like if you could find it right now, and they are being welcomed over there. Like when I mean they are being welcomed, they get land, right? They got land. They got beautiful houses. They build mansions. I mean, I was watching a video. Man, I wish this was a while ago. So this gentleman, who's obviously an African American, said, "Man, y'all can stay in America. Don't even come." Don't even come to Africa because we got it good over here. Don't come do all this, and that because we got it good over there. Africa is welcoming a whole bunch of people who want to pick an African country, right? Just don't pick the ones that are war-torn countries over there, right? Just pick a country in Africa apart from the war-torn countries and go over there, and tell me, like, I just had a friend, she just migrated back to Ghana, and I told my parents, hey, this lady's coming over there. Can you guys just help her out? And my dad went to meet her and said, oh man, she's good because wherever she chose to go stay in, it's like perfect for them and everything, right? So there's a lot of people who are migrating back. You just got to look further into that educational aspect. Also, now I'll throw a question at you. How do you think Africans also feel about how do African Americans feel about don't you see that Africans also would have that disconnect, also saying, man, I could be related to you. How do I get to know ancestors? Don't you think that they also have that lost of either slavery that was dragged, that maybe their whole community was dragged, that now they've lost that touch also, right? So I think it goes
Right.
both ways when we get to weigh both sides of the coin also, because you're hurt just the same way somebody back home is also hurt also. I'm sure maybe you could be from um, maybe South Africa, or you could be from Zimbabwe or Zambia, right? So um, maybe somebody back there too is also looking at the same aspect also.
So let me ask you a question.
Mhm.
Growing up in Africa, what did you learn about the Atlantic slave trade?
Well, I mean, we had a
Was it
whole lot
was
of.
that taught? Hmm.
No, it wasn't, because I mean we also had other stuff that we also had to deal with, learning about the slave trade, where we still have forts and castles over there that slavery happened. Like you see the sign of,
So
of it every day. Like you could pull it up right now, like
I
like the
saw it on
like,
YouTube.
like the castle. You got the Elmina Castle
Mhm.
and all those things, right? We got the signs of slave trade over there, right? But it's not like we don't want to demolish it or something like that, like break it down and say, oh, we don't want to see this, because I'm sorry to say that is what is being part of our history, though. That is something that's been part of our history. So it's like, hey, this is where slavery happened from, right? We don't have to go back over there, but these are the signs. This is what happened. This is where it is, to bring closure to certain things. So most people that go explore those sites go there just because they want to have closure. That's why they go
Yeah.
over there to look at all those things. So I do believe that in both sides people are hurting. People hurt on both sides, but I mean, I would and anybody who got 2 G's, man, just buy a plane ticket. Get yourself a passport, buy a plane ticket, and then just go see over there. You see a whole different side of 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 Africa, and maybe you may understand when certain people say certain things. Like people say, "Hey, man, you got opportunity over here. You got this and that and that and that." I could get a loan in America to buy a car, to buy a house, but in Africa, I have to pay for it cash. Ain't nobody giving you loans, and you see all these people
I know that
trying
there
to,
are other hoops and extra hoops and different things that you guys have to
yeah,
jump through
yeah,
over there. But
yeah,
for, my ancestors to have helped build this country and us having to go the extra mile and sometimes not even being approved as a Black American,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
it's devastating to us. You know, I mean, it's not just like, oh, they got all the opportunities. They got, we're limited on a lot of things as well because of being African, Black American. So I think that, you know, it's not as easy as it sounds. It's not
no,
as easy as it sounds.
no, I
I
mean,
even think about what's going on with housing right now. It's like the only reason why it's a big problem now because it's hard for white people to get houses. Black people have been going through this for a long time, you know.
yeah,
So
I mean, it's hard, and that is why I'm saying that you find out that Africans would always stick together because of situations like this. You know what I'm saying? To own land, why not? But and again, don't let that fool you, because I've had Africans in America that have duped me, right? Duped me, sold me bad cars, sold a house to my mom, and it was bogus, because they brought their corrupt mind from Africa to the United States also, and they're robbing people, and the people that they're robbing are people that, oh man, because I speak the same language with you, I can trust you, right? And man, this guy robbed me and sold me a lemon, right? And
yeah, we
man
got
was like,
scammers everywhere,
yeah, we got scammers everywhere,
every color,
so
everywhere.
yeah, um, but again, you got good people also.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
we got good people, just like how we got bad people in the African community. We got in the Black American community, in the white community, or even in the Italian community, and all those things. We got all those things also going on, right? But you would see, again, people feel comfortable where they belong. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah, and I feel like us as being a minority, we belong together.
yeah, but then,
Like we need to build that bridge to
yeah, but then,
connect with each other
how
and stand
easy
together.
how easy is it for you to try different food that you've never had before without not saying, "Oh, this thing is yucky," because they had that fufu challenge on TikTok, and some of it was so much. I mean, that thing got on my nerves. Because it's like somebody enjoys eating this. Why do you want to degrade what they like doing? So, I mean, till I mean,
Mhm.
I don't know what to say, because even in Africa, there's racism going on between people of the same skin color. Anyway, there's division between tribes and all those things. So it's always going to happen. The wet gap, the gap between the rich and poor in Africa, it's also a
Do you guys
division.
separate each other by color? Is
Do we?
colorism a thing in Africa?
No, it's tribalism also.
Tribalism.
So watch Hotel Rwanda, right? When the Tutsis and the
Mhm.
Husis are fighting, saying kill those cockroaches, right? The Husis thought they're better than the Tutsis, and the Tutsis thought they're better. So you got all this thing going on. Even when you look at the cultures in Ghana, also the Ashantis think they're better than the Gans because the Gans are a bunch of fishermen, and they stink like fish, like my tribe. The Ashantis think they're better than my tribe. And my tribe think we're better than the Ashantis. So it's like the first thing you meet a Ghanaian in the United States, right? They don't want to speak tree to you just because you're a Ghanaian. That doesn't mean I speak tree, but I do speak. I speak three of our dialects. But at one point, I just didn't want to speak tree because you saw my name and my name is a Ghana name. Because like by my name, you know what tribe that I'm from, right?
Right.
When
And
when
I
you
see that you guys have in Africa, it's like 1,500 to 2,000 different languages.
yeah, yeah,
Africa is massive.
yeah.
It is a huge continent. I
When
don't
you
think that people really understand how big Africa is
yeah.
because they said the closer that um, a country is to the equator, the smaller it looks on a map or
Mm-hmm.
something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Africa is huge.
Ghana alone has about 100 dialect.
1,500 to 2,000 different languages.
Mm-hmm. So, so there's still that separation, regardless of where you go, whether you're in America and I was born in America or I migrated from America, and there's always going to be that separation going on, and there's always going to be that someone wants to be superior because that is our nature as human beings. It don't really matter the color of your skin. It's just our nature. You know, OG says he speaks pig Latin, right? Yeah, I speak pidgin English. And it's crazy. Even with the pidgin English, right, which is like pig Latin, right? The way that Nigerians speak theirs is different from the way Ghana we speak ours, right?
Yeah.
So even when you listen to African music, you could tell who's a Nigerian and who's a Ghanaian. And even in Ghana and Nigeria, there's this thing called jollof rice, right? It's just rice. It's just rice and tomato stew. And either you make it with goat meat or you make it with chicken. But then they will say Nigerian jollof is better than Ghana jollof. And then Ghana jollof says it's better than Nigerian jollof. So, you still have that rivalry going on. But I think sometimes it's just for, I don't know. But there's always going to be separation, based upon what
Yeah.
people want to separate themselves from. It's not like
So I
all
got one more
Africans are that.
clip that I want to
Yeah.
play. Can we play the clip?
With
Big
people. And
exclusive.
last but not least, I will say this. What was very impactful was when we had Ghanaians and African Americans in the room together and we did the Unite conference. That literally also was a life-changing experience because it made me realize for the first time the reason why I felt like we have so much division is, again, the narrative. We're both told the same things in different ways. They're told things about African Americans that comes from a white perspective. We're told things about Africans that comes from a white perspective. Hence, it's being strategically created, it's strategically creating division.
So it's creating a divide between us because of the things that we were fed, through social media and television and different things that um, other people put out. Um, so what do you think that needs to be done in order for us to connect?
So there was this lab, right, where they had monkeys in the lab, and every time the monkeys would touch the cage, they would get electrocuted, right? So they had brought in a new monkey, and they put the monkey in the cage. The moment that monkey was about to touch the cage, the other monkeys would slap that monkey, right? That cage wasn't electrocuted no more. There was no current going through the cage. But what they've been put into their mind is if you touch this, you're going to get electrocuted, right? Why am I saying that? Maybe we've been fed a whole, like that lady said, right? She said, when we sat down together, we realized that we've been fed the same thing but being told in a different way. So why don't we go find it out for ourselves?
Right.
Right. The best way
Absolutely.
you could educate yourself is for you to go find out for yourself. Be that curious person to find out for yourself. You know, so having conversations like this, getting to know your neighbor well, getting to understand, hey, is this how you guys feel about me? It's like, no, that's not how I feel about you. Like, where you getting this from? You know, always like, oh, y'all you Africans, you know, because this is not my first time hearing this saying, oh, all you Africans think you better than us. And it's like, bro, where you getting this from? Like, you know, I don't think I'm better than you. I hope you don't think you're better than me too, you know, because I mean, we all in this fight together, you know. And I
Absolutely.
think sometimes we get it more difficult also than most people, you know, because if I look at your name right now, right, and
Mhm.
I don't know you black, right, um, it's going to be much easier for somebody not to do a blind test. But you see my name, and I put my whole name on the screen. It was like, man, I can't even mention that name. Be like, oh man, this guy must be from Africa. You see what I'm saying? And you are much of a more of a you are going to be at an advantage than I am. Then, like my wife, sometimes I feel bad for her because she's white, and she goes to like, so she went to the clinic, right? And they called their name, right? And automatically, this lady went to a black woman, and the black woman was like, "That's not me." And my wife was like, "Are you looking for me?" You know, so you know, just by that, you know, and I think sometimes, you know, asking those strong questions, you know, those uncomfortable questions, you know, some people find it difficult to ask those uncomfortable questions, you know.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, our friend said when you look at that name, you know you're black, you know. Most people find it difficult to ask that uncomfortable questions, you know, but sometimes those uncomfortable questions are what brings closure, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think we need to be more open to discussions like this to find out more about each other. Um, and open up to understand, you know, and
Hmm.
not just be so closed-minded about different things because I can say as African Americans, I can't speak for everyone. I feel like we are trying to find out more about our roots and our culture. And we don't mean to disrespect the African culture if we're doing it the wrong way. We're just doing it the best way that we can.
Yeah,
So
so if a white person shows up right now, right, and says, "Hey, I'm African," what would you say?
they could be African. You have white people in Africa.
Yeah, yeah, so I think we just gotta ask those difficult questions, and difficult questions are really,
But at the end of the day, their roots aren't from Africa. Generations after, you know, generations and generations back, their
yeah.
ancestors weren't from Africa.
Um,
They were brought to
uh,
Africa.
no, no, I can correct that. So, um, when you look at the Horn of Africa, right, where Somalia is, right, it's called the Horn of Africa, right, in the northern part, where over there, right, where you have Libyans, you have people from Morocco, you have Egypt, right, along that side. You know, God is really wonderful the way He created everyone and placed everyone everywhere,
Right.
right, based upon the equator. So the hotter parts in Africa like Chad and all those places, like the desert side. They are, I mean, when I said they're black, man, they're black. They're blacker than my microphone. They shine, just because of how the sun protects their skin. And then you have those in Morocco, closer to Libya, closer to Spain, right? Though Spain is in Europe, right? But when you look at the map, it's like really close to Turkish, right? White, blue eyes people, right? But the ancestors are straight from there. They are white Egyptians and they are
Yeah,
black
because I mean
Egyptians.
they
You
mixed
know,
up with the Arabs, right?
no, 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 no. That is where they're from. Like it's not like they migrated from anywhere. That is where they're from. Like like I've seen some beautiful Egyptians with blue eyes that if they don't tell you that they're Egyptians, you would never know, right? And they don't have a like ancestors from anywhere. Their ancestors are straight from Egypt. The Tunisians, they didn't want to belong to Africa because they saw
And they
themselves,
are.
yes, and they saw themselves superior. Because, I mean, from when you're in Tunisia, you could see Spain, right?
Mhm.
It's just a canal that divides that country from Africa and Europe. It's just a canal
Mhm.
that
It's
divides
right
it,
there.
and they wanted to go play in the European Union because they saw themselves as white, right? But they are straight up from Africa. It's just the way that God created them based upon the desert or and all those things, right? That's what I'm saying. God is really unique. The way He created everybody and placed everybody everywhere unique where we all ought to be. So yes, it's not because the ancestors have migrated from places to places and they have had strong roots over there, but it's like they are like straight up Africans, but got white
They're further
skin.
away from the equator.
Yeah, further away
And
from
the
the
closer you get,
equator.
the more melanin we have in our skin to
Yeah,
protect us from the
just
sun.
like how
Like
white
a
people, just like how white people do good in the winter. Like man,
mhm.
I was in North Dakota. My sister, man, I was crying in the winter time. It was cold. When I mean cold, it was -14, and because of the
Mm.
nature of my job, I had to go there for one particular test, and we had to get that weather so cold, right? I'm freezing, and my other folks are like, man, it's nice. I'm like, bro. And then come summertime, it's totally different. I do good in the summers over here. It's like, well, I'm in my zone. My wife always got the house cold, and it's like, yo, girl, I'm cold. She's like, no, I'm fine. Like, I'm cold. And then my sons is just like, teenagers don't really care. But it's just something unique about the skin, and our skin produce a lot of oil. That's why in the wintertime our skin dried and we get ashy, and they were like, man, put some lotion on them knuckles. It's just something about the skin producing as per the weather and stuff like that.
Yeah, God is amazing.
Yeah.
So, I want to thank you for coming to the show tonight. Can you tell the listeners where they can find you?
Well, I just want to say thank you for having me on your show. I just can't believe you just went straight hard like that, and
Well,
I'm
I mean,
glad.
listen, I got so many more questions, but it's so we got to
you,
have
s-
a part
you
2 to this, but
you spare me the hard questions, right? No, no, it's been interesting. It's always interesting having a conversation with you, and I'm glad that you started your show. Also, where you can find me, I have a podcast um, called Practically Unashamed of the Gospel of Jesus Christ, where I just love to talk what God places on my heart. I'm not I'm not a pastor, but sometimes I go out to preach also, and you can find it on iTunes, Spotify, and I think you could find me on TikTok also. I usually post some of my stuff over there, and you can find me on Facebook Also, my name is Nee, and yeah, I'm unashamed, and I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. You can catch me here right on the Big Exclusive Network every Friday night at 9 p.m. on Unlatched. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Until next time.
3, 2, 1. Let's go.
Welcome to the podcast that brings you raw, uncut, and unfiltered perspectives about life.
We need to have a conversation, all right?
We got to do better as a people.
Covering relationships, culture, music, and everything in between.
So that our stories in our communities can be heard.
This is